Okay, this exercise is going to be one just to refresh your memory on how to make shapes, or for some, maybe it's the first time. So I've got a half butterfly. Go ahead and download that and make a new Illustrator file, or use the last one, make a new, however you want to do it. You don't need anything bigger than 8.5 by 11. And then place or copy and paste the image into your file. Again, I'd rather that you don't directly open up your image file, because again, you'll end up with one that doesn't have any colors at all for your swatches, and it's just nice to have some. So new file, either place or copy paste directly. The next thing you do is you're going to lock this layer down. So over in your layers, you can do it there. Bring it over here. You can just lock it right there. That's totally fine. And then I would say just make a new layer on top. If you didn't catch that, I just did the plus key. Otherwise, you can do new layer, and it'll typically just go above whichever one you're on. You can see that different colors are options. You can double click and change colors. Sometimes that's important, sometimes it's not. And then some people will have color coded systems that they use, so they can look at their files and immediately know what they need. But for me, I just want this locked. I did do mine gray just so it's easier to draw on. Sometimes you might want to just change the opacity down. So for example, if you're on it, and again, I'm always working in Essentials Classic, and change the opacity down, and that way it's just easier to draw on top. All right, so that's locked. Then make sure I'm, in the new layer, I'm going to go ahead and start drawing. So we're going to draw with the pen tool. You can also just hit the letter P on your keyboard and that should show up. There are variations under here, at least with this particular workspace has it. Not all of them have all the same sets of tools. So if you don't see all of them, you're either going to have to add them from the edit toolbar down here, but I would just say work in Classic and then you got them all. Then we might end up needing to use the add anchor point tool. We might need to delete. We're very likely going to need to add. I'll show you how to add a curve if you don't already have one. So lots of different illustrators have a lot of different ways of dealing with this. When they're in Illustrator, you kind of figure out a way that works best for you. In this case, we have a combination of things, and a lot of them are line-based, right? I'm not going to worry about this right now. For now, I just want to get the overall sense. I know that I'm going to utilize line, and they're not all going to connect right away. And then later on, I'm going to come in and make these into shapes. But for now, I'm just worried about the line. So clicking, I did not hold from my click this time. I just clicked once and picked up my fingers. And then I'm going to kind of go towards the middle of the wing. This time, I do not let go. I hold down. And when I hold down and I pull away, then I'm left with these little pull-outs, and they allow curves to happen. I could always add a curve later. I'll show you how to do that here. So here I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let go immediately and come down here, and you can see that that's just a straight. I'll come back and deal with that later. Now, one thing that I forgot about is I don't want to fill on this. I want this empty. And I just want to stroke. It's too much to have to deal with both at the same time. So for now, I'm just thinking about the outside. Now, so for this one, I can go to the anchor point tool now, and I choose this. And this time again, I'm clicking on it and I'm holding down. And this allows curves to hold. And I can grab this point and also pull. And you can see it's getting pretty accurate. It's not perfect yet. But part of that factor is my fault. I didn't move this in the correct spot. So now I'm going to go to the direct selection tool, the white one, click on this, and just click out a little bit. And I'm going to do the same here. There's a little tilt here, and I'll deal with that later. That might be easier as a shape than as a line. To continue a shape after you've let go, like I quit there, I just need to use the regular pen selection and click back on it, and then it'll want to continue the journey. There, I held down and I let the curve appear. Sometimes curves are really good at figuring out what you want to do next, and sometimes they're not so smart. Depends on the kind of curve. In this case, I could come out here, again, click and hold, and then drag. That's one option. I could also go in closer and do it. I'll probably end up, you know, I think I can see that there's a tiny wobble. You can see like that's an imperfection. That's something I'm not going to bother with right now. That's a later situation. So I'm basically going through and I'm clicking and holding. If you're newer to this, just know that the fewer points you have, the cleaner your curve. A circle, let me just show you what a circle looks like with its points. If I draw a circle, there are only 4 points on a circle. There's one. This is a situation where this color is not good because I've got a red color chosen and it's hard to see it. So here you can see the reds now a little bit, but that's a point, that's a point, that's a point, and then down on the bottom. So curves do not need many points. The fewer you have, the smoother. Otherwise, your line gets stuttering, and we don't want that. We'll have to go back and eliminate. Sometimes people will overdo it and add a lot of points and then just eliminate as they clean up. I've learned over the years it's just not worth the trouble if I'm doing curves. I'll just go ahead and do fewer. The trickier the curve, the less likely that the next one's going to get it right. But it does a decent job. It's like up to here, it can kind of figure it out. So it's pretty symmetrical. Okay, yeah, I can live with that. And then I'm going to go halfway up here. And then again, like this, you can stretch it out quite far. And then go ahead and click. And then it got a little loopy at this part. Again, I'm not going to bother cleaning it up now. I'd rather get a clean line than have to worry with the fussing. It's not going to look good here either. That's okay. I'm going to go past it because my intention in the future when I'm done here is that I'm going to connect the pieces. And then I'll just go ahead and connect. It's messy, but again, I'll worry about that after I'm done with the connection. And then I can go through and decide which of my lines are a bit stuttering. This one definitely is, like it's popping out a little bit. Sometimes if you pull, it'll straighten out, but then you gotta see the effects. Sometimes you can get away with 1 point doing, like this one has 2 arms poking from it. Maybe if I move it a little further this way, it'll help. But if it's an odd one, I might need to add another point. Like this curve is weird, and so that's a little bit trickier. It's not a perfect circle. So I might end up needing to just do this in 2 sections rather than 1. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try 2. So I went to the plus key and I touched it, but I'm adding 2 points here and here. And again, I'm going to change the color because you guys can't see sometimes rather than opening up the layer palette and changing the color, it's just easier here. Yeah, now you can see it. And I can actually now remove this extra point that I don't think I'm going to need it. So I'm just going to say, whoops, wrong key, minus key, and then goodbye. You don't want to delete a point. Technically you can if you want to break a shape, but in this case I want to keep it complete. And now I can kind of pull on these and maybe get it to look a little bit better. But at some point you'll have to zoom out to just make sure that things are still looking, it's close. I can live with that. This is one where this little dip here is annoying to have to deal with. I'm going to push my point up a little bit. And then it's even hard to see what to do here because this is a situation where I might actually need to lighten my line as well so I can see through it. At times even you might have to change your opacity settings to something where you can see through a little bit better depending on what you're doing. That's not helpful. I'll just leave it at that. It didn't help a lot. So you can see like it curves through here a little bit. So I'd need to do just a little bit of work, which again, that takes time. I'm gonna push this up a little bit closer. And then this has to get adjusted. I think the point that I want to make for a lot of these is it's not easy. This one I'm overshooting because at some point, I know that I'm gonna be overlapping. So I would have to work with this a little bit of time to make sure I can actually get it to look okay. And I think the best way would be to let this one do all the work and this one just sit still. Sometimes if I made this one also have arms, then they're fighting each other. So I'll let one do work and the other one kind of sit there and just be there as a stationary spot where it knows that the curve has to stop. And that's probably the simplest way of doing it. So I'm not going to make all this stuff perfect, but you get the idea. Like, just go through. Okay, so after that, then I'm going to go through and just worry about the lines for the other pieces. This one I'm concerned with being whole because it's just easier, but some of them I don't care. Some of them I just need things to overlap, and you'll see why. So that's one way to do it. An overall shape, it feels, it's connected perfectly. These ones I'm probably not going to do that with. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Again, every person's different. In this case, I'm just going to figure out what's best for each. I'm going to go ahead and overlap because I know that in the end, to get a shape to happen, I do need a good line. And this one, I didn't draw my points from it yet. Like, I didn't pull them, but I think I need to just to like soften this out. And I might need to even them a little bit, or kind of just see. This one's a little, you get the idea. You just kind of push and pull as you need to get those things to work. Sometimes, Riki, you can reuse things that you've already built. If you see something similar coming up, utilize it. Now, typically an Illustrator is always going to paste it somewhat near, but it likes to do things more centered. The other one that you can do, which I use often, is paste in place. Basically makes a copy right on top, and you can't even see it. And then you just move it off with your arrow keys. This one I would need to also tilt. So I would use, if you just go to the corner of your bounding box, then you can see that little, it's a little tricky, but you get a curve symbol. And then if you hold down and click, then you can rock it back and forth however you need to. If you don't see a bounding box, that's a problem for a lot of things you need to do. And then you need to show some edges. I'm trying to think of which one it is. Mine are always set up to show. So it's like, so this one right now is on show because you can see it's saying I can hide it, which means it's already showing. So if I take it away, then I can't actually twist it. I could manually go, trying to remember where to go for that. Oh, under transform. And then you could manually tell it what degree you want, but that's annoying. So I just keep my bounding boxes on, and then I can do a heck of a lot of stuff. I can resize it, holding the shift key down to contain proportion, and then just kind of put it into place. In this case, I don't even have to be totally perfect about where items are. Like, I still will probably want to overlap a little bit. Some of these things will go away when I make these into shapes, and so that's why I'm not concerned with extras. It's just easier, faster. So again, could I copy and paste? Does it make sense to? Sure, why not? This time I'll just, yeah, it's pretty close. So I'm not going to do all of them, but that's the the general idea. Just make them, move them. In this case, pull it down. And for this one, I'd say like just push it past. This one I can make as its own shape, own line. So again, I'll start with a new one, come down here. And this, again, if I think about that whole section, this is probably about half of it. Hold and don't let go. And then come in here and woo, and click. No, I overdid it. Shoot. Okay. If I just did a quick undo, and then it let me do it. So you can kind of, I might not have put it in the best spot. In this case, I might, because it's got another curve, I actually probably need to put another point here to allow that curve. So basically I would put it here where the curve is starting. And then I can move this point over a little bit and then pull. And then I get it to do the shape a little bit better. It's not perfect, but it's close. Let's see. Yeah, I think that works pretty good. Now, because these are lines, I'm going to go ahead and make those lines to be thicker, like to match the thickness I have here. So I'm just going to go up to stroke until it feels about right. And yes, they're still doing their thing. That's okay. They're overlapping, and that's all right, because I'm going to fix them later. Some of these things I happen to know that it's going to be easier to do this once it's not a line, because I'm going to convert all the lines into shapes. I'm trying to think of the last thing I have to do. I'll do this divider line also from here. It's a little bit of a tilt, and then just again past it. The only other ones I'd have to do now are the outer edge. This is one where I want to show you how to change the way that a stroke is behaving. So right now, if I, built it up to the right thickness, let's see, what did I do these ones at? 9. Okay. Because I built the line on the outside edge, I actually need to push them in. If you hover, you can do lines to the outside, lines to the inside. And now you can see it's a lot closer to what I need it to be. But I personally don't like working with them thick. That's just me. You might want to work with them at the appropriate thickness to start with. So the last thing I need to do is to draw that outer edge. So I'm going to go from here. And again, I know I'm not going to fuss with the fact that there's a little deviation there, because I personally know that that's easier to deal with later. And then this line is, as you can see, it's just harder when they're chunky. So I'm going to take them back to small. And I won't do this one perfectly, and I already know I don't need that one. I basically just want to be able to make this little bubble part. And in reality, that's going to be all fill, right? Because it's a dark gray. Again, reactivate that point, come back in. It's not going to be perfect, but at least I can continue the demo. It's kind of a little bit wobbly. I'll just end there just so we can continue. Now, you want to make sure that you are always past. When we're going to use that shape builder tool, they can't just like be on top of each other. And I did that by choosing the indirect or the direct selection tool, and then clicking on, like dragging, so like I hit both, and I can see that they're perfectly like in alignment, but I'd err on pushing it a little bit past its line. So the tricky thing here is that you can't just look at the stroke. It's not about the stroke. It's at the core of the line. That's the part that has to actually overlap. So even though the blues do, I don't trust that the reds are doing it properly. So I'm just going to push it past where it should have to go, just in case. Okay. Now I'm pretty close to ready. I've got lots of overlapping lines. So at this point, I could do a select all because my other one is locked. So that's one way to do it, to select them all. You can also just use either the regular selection tool or the direct selection tool and just pull out. The direct selection tool shows points. The regular selection tool just shows outlines for the most part. It doesn't show points. So sometimes it doesn't matter, sometimes it does. At this point now, I'm going to expand my appearance. Now, in reality, I would copy and paste some of these and keep them off to the side for the bottoms and finish off like that before I do any of this, but I'm not going to do the bottom part because it's going to take a long time. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to select them all. Hit expand appearance. And I have to do it a couple times because what it did is I can see, if I look in here, I can see a red line on both. So that is a shape, but these ones aren't yet. There's a question mark, which is fine. But I can see that these are lines because there's a middle line in there, right? There's not an outline on one side or the other. It's in the middle. So that's still thinking about itself as shape, as a line instead of shape. Now it's shape. Looks like a line, some of them still. But the fact that there's red on both sides means we're good. It's a shape now. There's also no stroke here, and it's not confused. It's all empty. Now, you could do two things here if I want to join all these pieces. I could automatically just say Pathfinder join, but because I got these overlapping little pieces that I know I don't really want, I'm not going to do it that way. I don't want them to perfectly join because that would join the stuff I don't need. What I want to do is be able to delete stuff where the overlaps are happening. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, hey, outline, you look good. You're great. No problem. I'm going to zip through you. Anything I don't need that are leftovers, you hit Option. My apologies, I don't know what it is for sure on a Windows, but it's always either Option or Control or any of those keys down in the corner. So minus, I actually do need that one. This one I can just kind of absorb into the larger shape. So I'm dragging through any area that I wish to be part of my larger shape. So this one, this one, this one, this one. I don't want this one, so switch to the minus key again. Don't want that one. Don't need this one or this one. Don't need that one or this one. At this point now, if it might make sense that you can just join. If you've gotten rid of all the leftovers, then go ahead and do the rest faster, but at least eliminate the leftovers before you do this. So if I wanted to now clean up, you know, I'd have to go through and modify my points on the shape. So in this instance, like this one dips, I would probably eliminate it by hitting the minus key and deleting it, and then utilizing these now to fix that curve the way I really want it. Sometimes there'll be an extra thing I don't need, like I don't think I need that. So it's a little bit of reworking from, you know, where you started, but it basically is the same process. Adding curves where you need them, maybe moving a point down. Anything where you need to move a point has to be done with the direct selection tool. So in this case, I might move it in, and then, you know, maybe I have to change the way this looks. Maybe I actually, for things like a rounded corner, you typically need 2 points. So one here, eliminate the middle one by minusing, and then pulling. You can't eliminate that middle one until you get the 2 points on the side, and that way you can get a rounded edge, but you always need 2 for that. So you can go through and, you know, fix things as needed. Pretend that I did the lower part too. You will, but for the sake of this, I'm not going to. So when all is said and done and you've got the lower part done, everything done, now I'm going to have you copy. And I'm going to have you paste in place again, like we did before. And this time, we're going to do something else also. We're going to go to transform, and we're going to hit reflect. But I want to do it on the vertical. And then you can see that it'll move out. And then again, I'm going to use my shape builder tools to combine pieces as needed. For this one, I would still want to pull. I'm trying to hurry this but I would, like, you know, pull some of these in place before I would do that. And then once things are where you want them to be, then again, you use the shape builder tool and you just merge all the pieces together that need to go together. But that is how you can create a symmetrical object with shapes and lines.